Who would ultimately win in a fight, the Terminator Grandmaster Jugram Hashwalt or Gerard Valkyrie, the Heart of the Soul King? Both hold extremely important roles in the Bandenreich, with Gerard being a vessel for a part of the Soul King and Jugram being Juha's other half. Their powers are also quite similar in the sense that they both manipulate intangible concepts, namely miracles and misfortune. Gerard's power allows him to use the situation against his opponent by turning their damage into power. In that sense, the more opponents there are, the better it is for him. He takes damage and replaces it with giant size. Gerard's miracle is based on thoughts and feelings. It is the fear of the people that allows him to gain his giant size, and the hopes of the people bundled together creates his sword Hoffnung, which is able to reflect all damage upon the opponent that is done to the sword. Using this against the shinigami, Gerard even got so powerful that he was called the strongest Quincy, clashing with Zaraki, who was called the strongest shinigami. But giant form Gerard is much stronger than you might think. He was able to clash with a Shikai Kenpachi Zaraki, who with his eye patch removed was able to defeat Bankai Unohana, someone who was labeled the strongest shinigami of the Gote after Genryusai died. Furthermore, Yachiru Unohana herself, after sensing the battle between Royd and Genryusai, if you paid attention to the Thousand Year Blood War anime when she said that Kenpachi should have been able to defeat all of his opponents up to this point easily, even adding that these opponents like Soul Society Arc Ichigo and Noitora seemed strong compared to Kenpachi, but they were not. You might have also noticed a picture of Kenpachi losing to Royd. Despite Royd not being able to fully control Genryusai's Bankai, he could still fight Genryusai's Shikai after copying 70 to 80% of Yuha's power. And despite sensing the clash of these immense spiritual pressures, Unohana thought a fully unleashed Zaraki shouldn't have had so much problems with Royd, and Gerard was able to clash evenly with this Kenpachi Zaraki in his Shikai state. Although it's more accurate to say Gerard's shield and sword were durable enough to fight with this Kenpachi Shikai, since even base Kenpachi was able to cut through Gerard's body. Furthermore, when Gerard was labeled the strongest Quincy, I believe the author was referring strictly to spiritual power and strength. Things like speed, strength, Reiatsu and such, given Gerard's own declaration, accompanied by the way Kubo labeled the chapter. As for Jugram Hashwalt, he's a Sternritter Grandmaster for a reason. Titles are direct reflections of power in the Bandenreich. Just as Kilgay, who had the strongest Reishi gathering and superlative skill, was called the instructor of the Quincies, Jugram being Grandmaster and the next Emperor is a reflection of his own power compared to the other Quincies. Even his meeting with the Quincies was supposed to be a reflection of Jugram's ultimate authority over them, with the likes of even Grammy being at the meeting. And to further prove that being Emperor requires you to have the greatest power, when Yuha appointed Uryu as the next successor, despite this being a trick according to Jugram, Yuha had to convince the Sternritters that Uryu was worthy to be Emperor by saying that they would see his power in the upcoming battles. Being Emperor or successor requires you to have the highest level of power among the Bandenreich, with Jugram being described as second only to Yuha. With this shift the balance, he's able to absorb misfortunes in his area of influence and disperse it as he sees fit. He can directly reflect it upon the opponent or simply absorb it into his friend's shield. Misfortunes can be anything advantageous to his opponent, which would bring him bad luck. The fortune of surviving battle can be turned into misfortune upon the opponent. The fortune of damaging him can be reflected as misfortune, and even the good luck of avoiding a dangerous battle can also be used against his opponent. So while Gerard requires fear to grow stronger, Jugram can simply use whatever happens around him. The Grandmaster of the Sternritter should be superior to the likes of Royd, who could fight Genryusai and demonstrated sharp observation skills and deduction when he encountered Nanao's barrier. So if it's a clash between their base forms, I think Jugram would have the advantage in battle IQ and combat prowess. But even with the balance, if he allows Gerard to become too massive and powerful, the tides will turn against him. This heavily depends upon whether or not there is enough fear in Jugram to make Gerard bigger and stronger continuously, or whether Jugram is able to figure out Gerard's innate weakness, which is his Quincy cross. As if this cross is destroyed, Gerard is finished. With this balance, battle IQ and battle prowess, I think Jugram has the advantage at the start of the fight. But if he can't finish Gerard quick enough, the Quincy will grow into the strongest and fastest Quincy. And since Jugram's balance is not proven to be passive, if the fight drags on, Gerard will eventually gain the advantage as his power will continuously increase. But what if Jugram used the Almighty? In other words, what if they were fighting at nighttime? Jugram did say that the balance is more suitable for battle, but I don't think this immediately translates to it being a stronger power than the Almighty. I think it has to do with Jugram's role in the Bandenreich, as he sees himself as the balancer. Even when he faced Uryu, he didn't want to finish him off with the Almighty. Instead, he wanted to use the balance to put Uryu's values on the scales. And if you think about it, the balance is more reactive, which requires something to happen first, while the Almighty is more proactive as it looks into the future and acts ahead of time. While Jugram does admit to not fully grasping the Almighty, with the implication that he cannot fully perceive all futures like Yuha, he would still possess the basic power of the Almighty to see futures, even if it's not every single one, along with the power to understand whatever he sees and overcome it. This shrift to see and overcome when used by Yuha was too much even for the monk Ichibei Hyosube, placing Yuha's Almighty even beyond Ichibei's power to manipulate manipulate concepts, names, blackness, and erase existence, even beyond the powers of Squad Zero to casually shake the realms of Bleach. Jugram would at least possess this very basic power, to see, understand, and overcome, and as a result should be able to see through Gerard's shrift, which feeds off fear and hope, and through future understanding will be able to perceive that Gerard's center or core is a squincy cross. In fact, I think the Almighty's future comprehension and negation is a direct counter to the miracle, which requires things to be done before it's activated. Furthermore, when Yuha sleeps and Jugram gains the Almighty, it is said that he has ultimate power over all of the Bandenreich, and can fully exercise power as Emperor in Yuha's place. But what makes things even more one-sided is the fact that Jugram also gains the Sulking level Almighty. After Yuha absorbed Mimihagi and the Sulking, who can both see the future, and went to sleep, Jugram actually gained the Sulking Almighty. Despite his inability to see all futures, this Almighty would still be superior to the version which destroyed Ichibe's power. So if it's balanced Jugram, I think things would be a lot more difficult, because if he can't figure out Gerard's miracle powers, the Titan could grow too massive and powerful for Jugram. But with the Almighty, Jugram is directly called the greatest power besides Yuha, and can foresee, understand, and counter Gerard's abilities. Some aspects of their powers might be upgraded or altered in the upcoming Core 3, but for now I give the victory to Jugram Hushwalt.